Thank you again to everybody who's joined us today. We'll keep on letting in people just in case anyone is running a little bit late. That's no problem. So before we get started, please note that today's webinar will be recorded so that a video can be sent around to registrants afterwards, as well as to a few people who were unable to join at the last minute, but would still like to access the content later. So we will make this available afterwards. And then please keep an eye on the chat section as well, please, because there may be some messages going on there. And please be free to add in your questions on here as well. We'll do a Q&A session at the end. So yeah, thank you again for joining. So today is very exciting because this webinar is the first episode in a series of online training events, which we've designed to help you, the healthcare professionals, achieve seating assessment mastery. So our 2024 course is called Mastering Seating Assessment, and it's designed to provide educational content to really support occupational therapists, physiotherapists, carers, and other healthcare professionals who are involved in assessing people for specialist seating, whether that be in the community or multi-user healthcare environments. So there'll be one episode each month, and each one will focus on how to assess people with a specific health condition, or those who fall into a particular patient group if you're working in a hospital setting. So today, episode 1 will be about seating elderly people, and we're very excited to have a guest speaker joining us, who I will introduce very soon. So the agenda is here, which I'll just quickly whip through. We're going to look at various risks and health conditions that elderly people often live with, that should be looked for and considered when specifying seating for them. We'll discover how to support elderly people with proper postural positioning solutions, pressure care options, and much more. We'll learn about different chair types that are available, functionalities that these can offer to really help you enhance the lives of your elderly clients, people you're working with. And this will include an on-screen demonstration of the key functionalities offered by a couple of our Lento chairs, which can benefit elderly people using them. And this will be done by our in-house seating assessor and community care expert, Ben Sterling. So we'll look forward to that at the end. And then we'll have the Q&A session, as mentioned, so please keep a note of any questions you would like to ask. And again, you can put these in the chat during the webinar for us to discuss at the end. Otherwise, you are welcome to unmute and ask them when we get to that stage. Again, before we start, we would just like to request that everyone checks that they are on mute, just to save any background noise causing distraction. So just very quickly about Vivid Care. So before I introduce you to our guest speaker, some of you may have joined our webinars before, but for those who are joining for the first time, we've been supporting the healthcare sector for 50 years now. We're previously known as Yorkshire Care Equipment. We're now called Vivid Care to represent the work we do in both hospitals and community care right across the whole UK. So our mission is to enhance lives through advancing care, and our focus is on providing specialist care seating, profiling in hospital beds, moving and handling equipment such as falls prevention and patient lifting devices, and then also mobility equipment. So we really strive to equip even the most complex of cases and individuals facing challenging health conditions with optimal resources and equipment to give them the best quality of life that is available to them. We're actually part of a bigger group called Core Care Group. So our sister companies include Innova Care Concepts, who specialize in hoisting and installed healthcare projects. Then there's Dependall, who are third-party specialist healthcare logistics providers. And then finally, there's Aquadapt, who help with home adaptations. So that's just very briefly on Vivid. And without further ado, I'm excited to introduce Rachel Cleary, who is a private associate OT, who's got a lot of experience in in specialist seating. So welcome, Rachel. I'll hand across to you.
Thank you, and hi everybody. So I'm just going to share my screen. I'm also going to turn my video off as well, because as I mentioned earlier, my screen is over there, my video is over here, so I'm going to be like back and forwards otherwise. So I'm going to currently stop videoing myself and introduce myself. So share screen.
Thank you.
Fine. How's that showing there? Has that come up?
Yes, we can see your presentation. Yes. Thank you.
Good, lovely. So, hello everyone. So my name's Rachel Cleary. I am an occupational therapist, currently working in private practice at the moment. My main area of interest and kind of experience is equipment and adaptations, and then wheelchairs. I'm currently working sort of private practice within the sort of medical legal field. So lots of experience in equipment adaptations and housing adaptations. So today's webinar, we're just going to be looking at an introduction to seating for older people. And the aim of the session is to provide an overview basically of how to appropriately measure for a riser recliner style chair and look potentially at the things that we would need to consider when we're deciding on this type of chair and whether or not it would be appropriate for the older generation, if you like. Just going to move on to the next one. So just a few statistics that I've thrown in today. So currently, Office of National Statistics are telling us there are currently 12.3 million people within the UK over the age of 65. And I think for me, when you think about the implications of that and an ageing population and how it has an impact, particularly in healthcare, domiciliary care, long-term care, and look, my main considerations for the over 65s and our elderly population, if you like, is the burden that potentially places on our healthcare system. You know, the resources that we have available to us, and the big one that everyone all cringes at the thought of is funding, and equipment funding particularly. You know, as we all know, it's a bit of a sad world out there, and NHS is under a huge amount of stress. So I think as the population increases to age, we're only going to see more and more of these burdens with us aging. Just a note to say this is a constantly evolving number, because obviously we are elderly and people die. Nice picture of some happy elderly people. So when you think about the older population, the sort of prevalent conditions that we would expect to see, there's variety, if I'm honest, and your main ones that are coming up: arthritis, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, respiratory disorders, and cognitive decline. And I think when we think about these conditions and actually the impact that they actually have, not only on the individual, but also sort of longer term with regards to care and people requiring assistance, it does place a burden on long-term care, as I mentioned, but also families and finances and the implications that will have on individuals. I think when we think about living with prevalent conditions such as this, the implications that they have on those things I've just mentioned, but also people living with chronic pain and how that potentially impacts on their abilities to perform activities of daily living, the need for ongoing care, the increased stress and anxiety that potentially may cause for somebody, and also the impact that does have on somebody's mental health and their general well-being. I think if you address the implications of these conditions, we can look at certain things to help to assist with that. Big drives around preventative measures, for example, and obviously as time's going on, and we're aware of this aging population, that additional investment and research has and is continually happening. So with the hope of outcomes for our kind of almost put myself in this generation now, but longer term, hoping to improve the outcomes for older adults as we do age. I think what also sort of sits hand in hand with this is common postural issues that we would expect to see in this kind of age group and potentially maybe older. I've just put a few in, really. I mean, this isn't an exhaustive list, but this is the kind of things like out in practice that I would see potentially with the older generation, and how that then impacts on seating somebody, for example. I mean, the very common one, the forward head posture, where you've got that protrusion of your head forward causing neck out of alignment, which again, that potentially can have a really negative impact on sitting posture and sitting balance. You know, you get the weakened neck muscles, your forward head posture can lead to neck pain, you know, quite severe headaches, upper back and lower back issues. Again, your rounded shoulders, where you see that quite often. I think as a generation, we're going to see that a lot more with the phones in younger generations. But again, the implications of that in seating can be quite significant. Somebody's got very significant rounded shoulders. It creates upper back muscles that become weak. You tighten chest muscles to the front, again, promoting really poor posture. And obviously, poor posture then promotes pain and discomfort. Kyphosis, which is probably one of the most common things I probably would see, and again with that kind of hunchback and hump that you develop, and it generally is kind of age related due to changes in the spine, and obviously things like osteoporosis and weaker muscles, and continued poor posture will all sort of exacerbate that type of posture that you're going to see. Sway back posture, again, is this excessive inward curve of the lower back, which causes your pelvis to tilt forward. And I think, again, that one from a seating perspective can potentially lead to difficulties in seating people. So when we start looking at more specialist seating for people, it is these kind of things that we're going to see. And your leaning forward posture, again, where your whole body tends to kind of become rounded and forward, and you get that protruding abdomen. These would be all things that I would potentially see, not in everybody, and they won't all have it at once, but mainly the common things. And again, this uneven weight distribution that you do tend to see where people adopt quite poor postures. They might not necessarily have initially to start with postural deformity, but with that adopted poor posture over time, you can find it has a really negative impact on people's posture and their balance, and then which again then impacts on their mobility. I think it's important to note, you know, these issues can really vary in range of severity. So, you know, you may not necessarily see them all. You may see one, they may not be that bad, but I think it's important to kind of consider them if somebody is starting with these types of postures, and how do we then look to stop them from getting any worse. Just a few pictures of the sort of things that you might potentially see there. So what are the benefits of appropriate seating for somebody over the age of 65? I think your main one, and the main one for me, is this improved posture and body alignment. Proper seating helps you to maintain a really good posture and alignment, which then reduces the risk of musculoskeletal issues developing, and also reduces your risk of pain issues. So such as, you know, there's a real prevalence of back pain in the older generation, stiffness, joint discomfort. You know, and what we want to potentially do is provide seating that supports the natural curves of the spine, but promotes the proper alignment of your head and your neck and your pelvis. So getting those all in a really nice alignment will help enhance comfort, but also potentially look to help reduce people that have got pain issues. You know, so by putting in appropriate seating with appropriate pressure care, with appropriate cushioning and support, we can not only look to sort of alleviate discomfort and pain, but we can also look to help promote a better posture. And also the whole thing around proper body weight distribution, so reducing pressure points. So we are then potentially looking to help assist people not developing pressure ulcers or sores, because obviously, again, you know, the impact of that on healthcare providers and, you know, your district nurses and everybody else. We potentially, as OTs, we want to get in there before that starts happening. So again, well designed and appropriate seating can also help facilitate movement and transfer. So we would want to be looking at appropriate seating that has features that will benefit. So adjustable heights, armrests, some chairs, swivel mechanisms, not necessarily for the riser chairs, but the chairs out there that have that assist with transfer. And ultimately, we're wanting to promote somebody's independence and mobility by having seating that's appropriate for them, which potentially will reduce their risk of falls and accidents. Suitable seating for adults often includes sort of stability features such as the really sturdy armrests. You can get chairs now non-slip material, really good stable basis, so they will help in the prevention of falls and accidents for somebody that maybe have got some reduced mobility or some pain issues or weakness. So can assist them with the sitting and standing. I think again, proper seating can help secure somebody, so then we are not only reducing the risk of falls and injuries, but we're also helping to promote better health. So a good postural chair will help improve circulation and respiratory functions. It can promote blood flow and ventilation. Obviously, again, if you've got a good seating system that will promote being able to lift your legs and give you that comfort, but also if you've got somebody that does have some kind of swelling issues or difficulties in those areas, having a well-designed seat that can be reclined and elevated will help with all those things. One of the big things as well that I think doesn't quite often get talked about is about enhanced social interaction and well-being by having appropriate seating, especially in the sort of the care home or the assisted living type facilities, where having people that are in well-supported chairs that are comfortable, happy, sort of promotes your overall psychological well-being and also promotes a sense of kind of belonging and that ability to engage. So it's just a few pointers on here, your main bits here for me. Physical health, obviously enhance your comfort and posture and contributes to reduced muscular, I can't say this word, musculoskeletal issues. Again, gives a sense of emotional well-being, fosters a sense of security and contentment, and allows that ability to socially interact. So when we're thinking about chairs, like riser recliner chairs, what are the sort of things that we need to consider? What would be the features that I potentially would be looking at? Obviously, it's all going to be very much service user or patient specific, but the features pretty much are the same. So we want to look at adjustability. Do your chairs, can they recline? Have they got height adjustability? Is there tilt adjustment? Can we accommodate for specific needs around somebody's postural presentation? Does the chair give you the ability to assist somebody from sit to stand and vice versa? Reclining positions as well, it's always worth looking at how your chairs recline and what sort of mechanisms are within your chair. So your reclining positions, you need a recliner position that it should be able to offer you a multiple reclining option, basically. So again, for me, that would be also dependent on your presentation of your person. Angles of backrests and what angles you can achieve, all these things are what you need to really consider. I mean, one of the things that we do always not advocate is people sleeping in riser recliner chairs. However, people do sleep in them and do fall asleep in them. So comfort and having a chair for relaxation, I think, is quite important as well. Another option, another thing to consider for me is obviously, can you clean the chairs? Are they durable? These are not cheap things. So you want something that's going to last. So looking again at whether or not, if you've got a patient that potentially has continence issues, whether the chair that's going to be provided for them can be easily cleaned, because obviously replacing cushions and back sections are not cheap. So I would always sort of have that consideration in the back of my mind when I'm thinking about seating for somebody. And again, stability. Is your chair sturdy? Is there a non-slip base? Does it promote safety? Additional things to consider, obviously seat dimensions and your cushioning are really important. Having chairs too big or too small can promote poor posture. So we want to make sure that the chair that we're providing has got an adequate seat width and depth, the height's correct for that person's body size. And again, you're getting proper weight distribution whilst they're sat in the chair. So having chairs that have got good high quality foam or padding and potentially different types of backrests and lumbar supports would all be things that I would want to consider when I was looking at a person's individual chair. And I think seating is really, really individualized as well. Whereas you can get a range of chairs that will meet a lot of needs, it is still very specific to that individual person. So are we looking to promote spinal alignment and reduce back pain? Or are we more looking at providing a chair that assists with mobility? So again, lots of things to consider. Armrests again as well, looking at armrest positions, because quite often, and this is something I'm sure probably a lot of you will have seen this out in communities and in care homes and various places. Yeah, the chair's great, but the armrests are far too low and they can't use it to assist the stand transfer. So it kind of negates the benefit of the chair if it's not a powered riser or recliner. And controls as well, looking at controls. I think sometimes we forget about this. If you've got somebody that's got limited hand dexterity or somebody with limited cognitive abilities, you can get some really fancy all singing, all dancing with very, very complicated control systems on them, and people can't use them. So it's, again, a big feature to consider. Do you need simple, basic? Is your person able to use a quite a complex hand control? I think the chairs with the more functions have the more complex hand control. So again, it's pitching what it is you're looking at to the chair that you're going to provide. And a big one, weight capacity. So ensuring that you are looking at a chair that accommodates your person's weight. I think most riser recliner chairs, the weight limit sort of sits between about 23 and 26 for the standard ranges, small, medium and large. But again, if you're looking at somebody of a higher weight, you do need to look at more specialist chairs, because these ones won't accommodate.
Hi, Rich.
Sorry?
Really, really sorry to interrupt. We're just having a couple of people noting that the sound has dipped considerably. I'm not sure if you've just moved your headset slightly.
No.
Do you mind just going down into the audio settings?
Let's have a look. Yeah.
And then in the audio section, there is under the microphone bit, there's a volume bar. So just to pull that right up to the top, please.
Let's have a look. Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, you're right. Sorry. It's I've got a really weird setting now on my screen, so I can't see you properly.
Okay.
Weird. Oh, come on. Why are you you're on a thumbnail now, so now I can't see you at all.
That's okay. So just on, where the mute, can you see the mute button?
Nope, completely lost it. So all I can see on my screen at the moment is, hang on, let me see if it'll let me open it. Nope. I've just got pictures of everybody.
So if you go down, okay, actually, if you're sharing screen, it might be up at the top. So have you got a bar across the top of your screen?
I've got a more. Yes, let's have a look.
So next to the mute button, there's a little arrow. And then there should be an audio settings section.
Yeah, bear with me. Let's try this.
Thank you.
How's that?
Does that sound better for everybody?
Yeah. That's good.
We'll let you carry on, Rachel. Thank you.
No worries. Let me just come out of this.
Yeah, people are saying that's much better now.
Oh, is that better? How strange, isn't it? That's bear with me a sec. So now I've lost my presentation. Let me get that back up. Where did we get to? Additional features. I'm on to additional features. So riser recliner chairs. So obviously looking at additional features for these chairs, you can, like I mentioned earlier, you can get some really all singing, all dancing. Again, it's always going to be person specific. If you got a person that's, you know, on the phone or their iPad all the time. You can get things like USB charging points put on these now. I think for me, the things that I would consider mainly would be, where do you hang your handset? Have you got a pocket at the side? You know, you can get things like heat and massage functions on these chairs now as well. So again, lots of things to kind of consider. Not always going to be appropriate to every one of your clients, but always things to have in the back of your mind. One thing I would always kind of look at as well is the warranty and after sales for people, especially if I'm buying privately for service users, and, you know, going to a reputable company and a supplier and getting something with a good warranty on it is definitely worth the peace of mind, I would say. And again, one of the things that we do always say is, you know, it's really important to involve the person and considering not just their specific health needs, if you like, but actually their preferences. You know, some people just absolutely hate the fabrics choices that are offered, or so it's having that sort of collaborative approach as well with your service user. So what are the benefits of a rise recliner? So I would say my main three: mobility assistance, so the lift function, so helping somebody sit to stand and vice versa, massively reduces the risk of falls. Then we've got comfort. I don't know if any of us worked in sort of social care. It's not, doesn't generally get considered as it comfort, but however, it's massively important. If you're providing something that's not comfortable or correct, they're not going to sit in it. And then my final one, I would say, health benefits. So what are the health benefits? You know, they can assist to reduce pressure sores. With the movements, you can readjust positioning a lot easier. It helps reduce muscle stiffness, and that promotion of regular positional changes is really beneficial from a health perspective. So in the next section, we're just going to look at why is it important to correctly measure for a riser recliner chair. I think measuring, it is important. Having a chair that's too large or too small, not only can they be uncomfortable, they don't provide the correct support. So you can potentially exacerbate any conditions somebody's got by providing the wrong type chair. Also, the risk factors around that. If somebody's got a chair that's way too small for them, potentially you're increasing the risk of falls. So we just need to make sure it's correct. And again, correctly measured chairs provide the proper upper body postural support. So having backrests that are too small or backrests that are too big, they don't assist to align your posture and your body contour. So it can increase pain in necks and legs. So proper support's really important, and that's where your measuring comes in. And again, a properly measured chair, you know, provides the correct safety and stability for that person, and gives you the ability to support the correct weight. And functionality is also measuring correctly, so the chair's functions do what they're supposed to do. So a chair too big, for example, when you put a very small person in, your elevation of your leg is going to be in the wrong place, your back recline is not going to be in the appropriate places. So making sure your measurements are correct means that you're going to get that overall comfort alongside what you want your chair to do, which is promote good posture and independence, really. And again, making sure you've got the right chair, cost effectiveness. You get the wrong one, they're not cheap. So ensuring you get it right the first time means that that chair is going to fit that person. And again, the way that we would measure, you don't necessarily have the person crammed into the chair. You have a bit of space and a bit of room for them to be able to potentially expand a little bit, but also to move around and be comfortable. So proper measurements will ensure a comfortable fit for your person. It gives that an enhanced support, so it makes sure it's necessary and correct for that body, that person's body size and weight, and again prevents discomfort and pain. So those are kind of the main things for me when I think about when I'm measuring for chair. What are the reasons for that? And again, efficient function. I mentioned that, didn't I, earlier, about it ensures the functions work as they're intended. So how do we measure for a chair? So as I mentioned, correct. Ensuring that you know the person's weight and height is really, really important. So when we're looking to measure for back height and the correct back height, just a really simple diagram there, that is basically the measure you need. Top of the head to bottom of the spine. You want to be able to support in those key areas. Then a hip width. And again, you go for the actual hip width of the person. And then when you're considering the chair, you want to look at maybe an inch, inch and a half either side, just to give that little bit of room for comfort. Not too wide, because obviously then it throws out the armrests. Then your seat length. Again, same sort of thing, right from the back of the buttocks to the back of the knee, get your exact measurement. And then you want to be able to literally get your hand behind the back of the knee, so you're not creating pressure when they're sat. And then your floor to seat height distance. I always get people ask me about, is that important? If it's a riser recliner, it still needs to be the correct height, even if you're going to use it as a riser recliner, because yes, you can lift the chairs, but that's not their natural sat position. So that person still needs to be sat on a seat where the feet are flat to the floor. And your arm height measurement. So generally it is from base of the seat till your arms sort of at a comfortable bent position, and you rest in your arms comfortably on top of your armrest. And again, so it's easy for you to use those armrests to be able to use to push up to stand. So you don't want them too high. Additional factors to consider. So when we're looking at people's posture, has your person potentially got specific postures or body alignment issues that you might need to address as part of your provision? Some of these chairs now, you can get some quite specialist features to some of the riser recliner chairs from certain manufacturers. So you can have backs that specifically address issues with kyphosis. Again, if you've got somebody that leans heavily because of a scoliosis, you can have laterals inbuilt as part of the chairs. Again, it depends who you get them from, but they're all things that are available. Again, we talked about the custom features. Does your person want a heat or massage option? They are things that are available. Just a little picture of one which has got sort of an inbuilt, very basic lateral system that just helps to assist with lean. So what would we consider when we're choosing the right chair? I think the key thing for me with chairs like this, they are quite an expense. So do some research, get your person to identify what it is that they want your chair to do. I would always get people to try some as well. Go out and get a feel of them, because they do different things. So the main factors when we're considering a chair for somebody, the needs of your person. Do they have medical or physical issues that you want this chair to assist to address? Again, your size of your chair, just making sure it's not too big, it's not too small. Motor types, I'll go into a bit more detail about the motor types. Different motors do different things. So you can get single, dual, you can get triple motors now, and I think you can even get 4 motors, but not for riser recliners. Again, backrest styles. There's lots of different types of backrests because they offer different levels of support. So we'll go into a bit more detail about that. Again, your upholstery, do you want it to be easily cleaned? You can get these chairs in leather, fabric, you can have more specialist ones provided. But another thing is looking at your pressure relief. Do you need more advanced pressure relief? Is your person sitting for long periods of time? Again, it's something that you might want to consider. If they are, whether you swap out standard foam cushions and put something a bit more specialist in. There's quite a few chairs out there where they have wells cut out where you can put in quite specialist cushions. And one thing I would say is that don't add a cushion on top of the seat. You see it all the time. It's not safe. And other options, do you want heat? Do you want massage? Do you want USB functions added to it? So single or dual motors. So the main difference between a single motor and a dual motor. So your single motor chairs, you've got one motor that basically operates all the moving parts of the chair, and generally all at once. Whereas your dual motor gives you the ability to individually move parts of the chair. So your backrest and your leg elevation will alter at different times. I'd say the disadvantages of a single motor chair, because of the way that they operate, quite often it will push somebody forward or out of a chair, whereas your dual motor, because you can operate it separately, your posture tends to be a little better in these chairs. If you've got somebody that doesn't have massive postural issues, your single motor will be absolutely fine. And there is quite a difference in cost against the two. And again, if you've got somebody that is struggling to stand, looking at your arm features, particularly, you can get now with arms, wooden arm ends with what they call knuckles. So they're quite helpful if somebody needs a really solid surface to stand up with. So when you're considering your chair, your recliner measurements, when you're looking for your perfect recliner, it's really important to look at what size it is you need. So they, like I said, they do tend to come generally small, medium and large, and they'll have weight limits associated to them, and the widths are what the widths are. So it's really important to make sure that you get the correct measurement for your person. And the way you obviously do that, the person needs to be sat, with your hips and your knees bent and your feet on the floor, with a bit of room either side. You shouldn't have your knees up above, and if your feet don't touch the ground, what that does is just increases more pressure through the back of your thighs. So you're putting somebody at more risk of pressure issues as a result of having the wrong size. You should be comfortable. Your armrest shouldn't be too tight, and they shouldn't be pressing against you. And again, if your chair's too wide, your armrests aren't very useful. And your headrest, making sure that your headrest again is in the right position behind you, so that your shoulders, your head and your neck are really well supported, because you'll find, you'll see this out and about in community, where your little old dots of a lady sat in gigantic chairs and vice versa. So having chairs that are the right size are really important for that postural alignment, but also the support and comfort that you should be getting from them. And one quite important thing is making sure that your home or property accommodates them. They are quite large. So making sure that your chair can recline and elevate in the space that you've got, because quite often you go out and, it doesn't fit because the room's so small and crammed, you can't actually recline it. So they don't benefit from any of the functions from it. So I would always think about that and ask those questions before, a decision is made on it as to what sort of chair is going to be appropriate. Backrest options, again, I mentioned the backrest. There's lots of different types of backrests that you can get. Lots of the chairs I've got, some come with your standard options are X, Y, and Z, others you can choose. So again, it's just having that awareness of what's out there and the types of things that are available. Just give you some pictures of some basic ones here. So you've got your lateral back, which gives you that little bit of lateral support if you need it. Your split back, again, gives you that higher section at the top for immersibility. Your waterfall backs, this one's a 2-tier. You can get 3 tiers. I think you can even get 4 tiers now. And then you've just got your quite standard looking button back for somebody with not massive sort of postural or kind of issues. They would maybe potentially go for one of those, but just needed the recline function or the elevated function. So again, it's just having that awareness of what's out there, because there are lots of things. I think probably for me, the most popular one that I would tend to go for is either your lateral back. So I would tend to do a waterfall with a lateral back if you've got somebody that's a potential leaner, or somebody that's got some kind of musculoskeletal sort of deformities, or the waterfall backs tend to be my main preferences, if I'm honest. And again, when we're looking at the rise functions, there are different ones. And I think, so you have your vertical lift, which is really, really good if you've got somebody that really struggles with that transition from seated to standing. So it will bring them up in a vertical position without tilting them forward. But then some people need that little bit of up and tilt to get them into that stood position. So again, it's getting somebody to try them, because I've had it before where I thought a vertical lift would be perfect for somebody, and actually they really struggled with it, and they did need that bit of sort of the vertical plus tilt forward. So I would say, again, getting somebody to try these, they seem quite basic and kind of not important, but they really are. If a vertical lift doesn't work for someone, it really doesn't work. Yeah, I think we touched on this earlier. Fabric options. Again, it's quite important for somebody, if this is just going to be a chair that's for assistance, just to promote a bit of independence. They don't want the more complex kind of specialist equipment, so you can get some really nice fabrics, you can match them into your current furniture. But if you were to need things such as wipeable or breathable fabrics, you can get things like Dartex cushions and systems put on chairs, or even overlays. I'm not a massive fan of overlays that aren't part of the chair, I'll be honest, but there are some of the good quality chairs you can get an overlay which is attached to the chair, which will be wipeable and breathable, so it has some kind of pressure relieving properties. And there's just a kind of few pictures of the sort of things. The pink one in the middle is actually it's got like a Dartex overlay wrap on the seat, so that will be wipeable, breathable. So if somebody's potentially at quite a high risk of pressure, that's a nice one with your waterfall back. And then you've got your more domestic-y looking ones that aren't quite so specialist looking. So again, pressure relief, it's kind of a big one for me, pressure relief. So I think if you know you've got somebody that's sitting for extended periods of time, you do need to consider your pressure relief. So you can buy functions as part of the chairs. Like I mentioned before, you have chairs that might have an inbuilt massage system. I've seen them. There's also chairs where you can have specialist air or water systems pumped through them for pressure relief. Again, it's all very specific to your person. Or alternatively, cushions that can be incorporated as part of your chair. So I mentioned earlier, we can get chairs which have wells cut out, so you could put the really high pressure care cushions in there. And again, with your overlay systems, you can have ones that are wipeable if you've got continence issues, but some do have like added pressure care capabilities. The Dartex is like a four-way stretch fabric, so that helps with shear and friction. So if you've got somebody that is quite a high risk of pressure issues, it's quite beneficial for them. And that one there is just kind of a bit of a more specialist, but it is still a riser recliner chair, but it has the kind of Dartex with the overlay and then the laterals, but it is a traditional riser recliner chair, if you like. And that one there is just one that's kind of been made where she's got a little bit of extra support in it, but the seat is actually really high pressure relieving. So there's lots of options out there. And an overview, what would we say about a riser recliner chair? Obviously it offers a numerous amount of benefits, so it can enhance somebody's comfort, mobility, which in turn I would say does actually enhance somebody's overall well-being and health. Promotes independence, reduces the risk of falls, which is a massive one, and also helps to improve somebody's comfort, which will assist with relaxation. And again, helps to enhance circulation and potentially reduces the risk of pressure. Just a quick one. Again, obviously, I sort of touched on costings for these types of chairs. There are some local equipment and adapt services that do provide riser recliner chairs, not all of them, to be fair. So sometimes it is worth approaching your local E&A service. They might have them on their contracts. I think North Yorkshire isn't great, but I do know sort of South Yorkshire do provide them. So it is always worth exploring if your person is sort of struggling financially. And there are other sort of funding sources that you could potentially explore, such as charities. I've done a few through places like SAFA and Help for Heroes, where they've had OT assessments. MS Society potentially, Sense, another one that might be able to assist. And Barchester Trust, I've never used those, but actually had the Scope UK, because what they will do is look to assist to find grants. So they're all worth, if you've got somebody that is financially struggling, it's all worth considering if they can't actually afford to buy something like this themselves, but it is going to really benefit them. That's probably me done.
Thank you so much for that, Rachel. That was hugely informative and clearly got a lot of experience, which we're very glad to be able to learn from. So just a reminder to all, if you have got any questions that have come to your mind during Rachel's brilliant presentation. You can either pop them in the chat, or otherwise we will discuss them at the end during the Q&A. So I do apologise for those who are still experiencing some sound issues. We'll just double check when we hand across to Ben now that the sound is working. But I would just like to assure you all that the sound on the devices here seems to be coming through well, which means that the recording is coming through fine. So you should be able to look back at the recording after the event, if that helps. So I'll hand across to Ben, who is with a couple of our chairs, and he's going to demonstrate how what some of these features and functionalities look like. Over to you, Ben.
Brilliant, thank you, Braden. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I was seeing the messages back and forth there sound-wise. Can everyone hear me okay? Just either a thumbs up, or if Braden, you can just let me know if people are nodding or saying yes. Hey, there we go. Rachel, thank you very much. Massive thank you to Rachel Cleary as well. You have made my job very easy right now, Rachel, because you've covered I'm sat there thinking what I need to remember, and yeah, it's all been included pretty much in that slide. So thank you so much, and thank you for those still confirming that sounds good. That's brilliant. That's what we want. So just a brief introduction of who I am before we get stuck into the chairs that we have here today. So my name is Ben Sterling. I am one of the seating assessors here at Vivid Care. I work very much in the community, so all of the scenarios, situations that Rachel was talking about when she sees people seated in inappropriate chairs or doing inappropriate things, i.e. sleeping in chairs, I see on a regular basis, and so I feel that pain, Rachel. And so trying to provide solutions is generally my job day in, day out. I've been working for the company now for over 5 years, and thoroughly love actually just improving people's seating situations and people's postural needs and postural needs and difficulties. Yeah, so we're going to go into this chair. We're going to that's beside me here. This is the Lento mobile chair. It's a rise reclining chair. We do other things as a company, so I just encourage you to take a look at other bits and pieces that we do. But as Rachel has said, when it comes to seating, the biggest thing for me that I'm looking at is we need to get the posture bang on. It needs to be improving that situation for the individual first and foremost. We can't have a chair that's too wide. We can't have a chair that's too tight. I liken it actually to if you're sat on a sofa at home, I can bet you any money right now that you will not sit in the middle cushioned seat of your sofa. You will pick a side and you'll lean into that side, and you'll love just kind of propping yourself up. If you don't, then I'll stand corrected, but most people, they'll pick a side of a sofa and they'll sit there and they'll lean into it, and it's the same when it comes to a chair that's too big for an individual. Like Rachel mentioned, a small dot of a lady sat in a big chair. She's going to just pick a side and hope that she can kind of stay supported or keep herself up. So when it comes to our chairs, we are trying to ensure that we've got comfort down, that we've got adjustability down, and that we've got the long-term support needed for that individual. So every chair that we do, we work within that sort of parameter. And so when it comes to the Lento Mobile, we have several levels of adjustment within the chair as standard. So we've got width adjustment, hugely important. We've got depth adjustment. We've got arm height adjustment, and we've also got adjustability within all the cushioning as well to slightly increase the back height if we need to, with chopping and changing the cushion configuration round, or swapping out the back cushions completely to support things like kyphosis, scoliosis, and any other sort of needs that individual might have. And so when it comes to assessing an individual, the key thing for me where I always start is with the pelvis. Okay, we need to make sure that we're making the pelvis as level and as straight as possible, because if you notice when Rachel was sharing, she was talking about how she was looking for a nice line from pelvis to shoulders to head. Everything needs to be in a straight line. I go even down towards the knees and the feet as well. We want to make sure we've got a good straight posture. So if I'm sat in a chair, the individual needs to have a good midline all the way down from feet to head, nicely supported. And so whenever we're starting, if we start with the pelvis, you can't go far wrong. Other things can be corrected. Even if someone's got a lean, or if somebody's if somebody has a slight curvature of the spine, kyphosis, scoliosis, if we can start with the pelvis, we can generally support the rest with the cushion configurations and extra accessories that we might need. So, one thing that these chairs do, as I say, we've got the width adjustment, but we've also got the depth adjustment. So let me just show you or demonstrate. We saw the diagrams before. I'm now going to be a live diagram for you. I'll just move this back so you can see. So all I want to show you here is just that support that we were looking for. So we want to make sure when we're seating someone in a chair, we want to make sure that their leg has a nice 90-degree angle, that they have got contact with the floor, as Rachel said, and that we've got enough support or enough width to actually hold or support ourselves with the arm height and with the width of the chair. And so this particular chair does all of that. It ensures that the patient is supported, it catches them in the right places, and should we need to change anything, we can. To go through some dimensions with you, in terms of seat width on this chair, we've got anywhere between 15 inches to 22 inches in seat width. The way it works, just adjusting a screw at the back, we can bring the chair width out, or we can bring it in depending on what we're needing. Okay. In terms of the seat depth, we can do exactly the same. There's connections at the back, so if we've got a tall chap, say 6'4", we can just take the depth right back to our furthest setting, and we can adjust it all, make sure it all suits him nicely. And then if we need to, say I go down the road and I'm now seeing a lady who's 5'2", then I just bring the seat depth forward. We can bring the width in maybe a little bit if we need to. Drop the arm height down as well if we need to. I'll just demonstrate that. And just ensure that we're doing everything we can to support that client dimensionally speaking. Excuse me. So within the chair as well, Rachel mentioned briefly about pressure care or pressure relief. Within our chairs, we do our level best to make sure that we have as much modular adjustment to the chair as possible, for a number of reasons. Someone's condition might change. They might be fine in a standard sort of chair, standard sort of setup to begin with, but things might change over time, so they might need to increase the pressure relief. And as Rachel said, these chairs, they're not cheap. Even if you go for a standard sort of chair, they're not cheap chairs to purchase. And I'm often going to places where they've made an investment and it was fine for maybe a year, and then things have shifted or changed, and unfortunately they've had to then look for something else again. With the chairs we design and engineer, we want to ensure that we're following the line of a condition, or we're following this individual on their journey. And so rather than buying a whole new chair, you could swap out the overlay on this chair, you could swap out the seat cushion underneath for something higher if you need to, and that way you're not spending the earth to actually keep this chair going and functioning for you. The same for the backrest or back cushions as well. You start off with this standard one. Our standard cushions are a waterfall lateral cushion, and so you start with that just to encourage a nice, soft, supportive backrest for you. But if you needed to upgrade that, we've got cocoon backrests, we've got ones that are just standard waterfall cushions, so no laterals. You could just have one piece as well if you wanted to. So we're very flexible in that respect, and we try and ensure that we do as much as we can to kind of tackle those issues that an individual might have. When it comes to things like scoliosis or kyphosis, there's extra supportive extra supports and accessories we can add in to just really bolster or reinforce the cushioning that's already in place. For kyphosis as well, we might just want to reposition our head cushion a little bit. We can take wadding out of these as well and really have a good play around with just customizing it basically without any extra cost involved to the client. So we really are doing our level best to ensure that that person is getting the best and most out of the chair. When it comes to pressure relief for us, we have 3 different options. We have our standard medium pressure cushion. Tends to suit majority of people. We then have our high level, which is gel. We can do a lined gel overlay on top of this, or we can go higher still and have like an alternating air cushion actually in the chair. So again, it's all built in, there's nothing added on top, so that's always beneficial. And yeah, again, it's all flexible. You can chop and change that at any given stage if you wish to. With our chairs, everything is easy to clean. It's all Dartex on the inside, so that 4-way stretch material that was mentioned. And then on the outside, it's like a faux leather that we do to ensure that it gets cleaned up quite nicely and quite quickly. And it just generally as well tends to fit in most living rooms and most sort of places that we go. When we were designing this, we didn't want it to be a particularly clinical looking chair, and so we do our best to ensure that it's going to meet a lot of needs but ultimately still look part of the furniture at home. Now what we've also got on this one, this is actually a portable rise recliner. When engineering it, we did that for a number of reasons. When we mentioned about the social aspect of individuals that are in chairs like this, and for us, we do a lot of work in care homes, and quite often, you know, they'll sit in the chair in the room, but it might be a bit of a struggle, or it might not be particularly thought about putting them in like a communal area or something sometimes, or you know, it might be seen as too many transfers in a day, or taking too much out of the individual that is ultimately missing out on that social interaction. And so with this one, with it being portable, we can get the patient out or the client out of bed, we can pop them in the chair, and then you can actually move them with the portering sort of capability of this chair into another room, and they can still enjoy that aspect of things. What we've also done with this chair is we've made it compatible with stand aids such as the Sara Steady. At the base of the chair, you'll see we've got the cutouts of the arms just here, so it's slightly elevated from the floor. And what we can then do, if we're wanting to promote a bit more of independence for that individual, we can bring the Sara Steady up to the chair so that they can actually stand from that and get out. But as with most rise recliners, or all rise recliners, if we're wanting to actually, bear with me, you just dropped my mic. There we go. If we're wanting to actually support the individual in standing up, we've got, as Rachel mentioned, our dual motored rise recliner here. So we've still got the rise function on this chair. Now we're actually, if you noticed on Rachel's slides, there was the 3 different options. There was a vertical rise, there was a slight vertical and steady incline, and then there was the straight forward incline one, just coming straight forward out of the chair. This is the middle option, so it comes up vertically a little bit and then it starts to tip you forward. But as Rachel said, you can sometimes feel like you're being pushed out of the chair a little bit, and so with this one you have got the option to open up the back as you're rising up, so it doesn't feel like you're being forced. You still got that support and you can stand yourself up and out of the chair quite comfortably. Okay, now when it comes to actually sitting in the chair and reclining back, the biggest function and the biggest thing that I'm always telling my clients to look for, or to, you know, even if they don't end up coming to us for the chair, the thing that they always need to consider or be aware of is the tilting space function. Now, tilting space, it basically, we work hard to get that posture correct from the pelvis, as I was saying earlier. And tilting space, what it will do is it will then tip the client back in the chair, and it will just ensure that they're maintaining that posture that we've worked hard to get, and they're not going to be slipping out of the chair. They're going to just maintain it, but it's going to spread the pressure through away from just one area around the bottom. It's going to spread the pressure up their back, through their legs, and ultimately just ensure a much more pleasant, much more comfortable, much more supportive seating experience for that individual. So tilting space is sort of the big focal point for our chairs. I'll just show you with this one. So we'll tilt it back. So with this particular one, we've got our chair tilting back, legs will come up at the same time. There we go, if you can see that. And it'll just ensure that the patient's right the way back. Now, for me, this is a big benefit to people who have got something like kyphosis as well, which was mentioned. Often when you're kyphotic, your head's kind of frozen down. You generally see just a lot of the floor, or your quality in terms of vision and stuff is a bit impeded by the fact that you're fixed or stuck in that sort of position. So actually having someone that can then, if they're having that position, tilting the chair back just improves their vision massively. And that is one of the biggest things that I find quite rewarding when someone's just been sat in a static chair, not able to really view the world or do much. Tilting it, just bringing up a tilting chair will actually improve that. And then we can also work on cushion configuration to ensure that we're actually then improving it further. So there's one cushion configuration we do called a T-back. So the two cushions at the base of the chair will kind of split in the middle a little bit, allowing the person to sink in a bit more. And then there's a top head cushion that will just catch the head perfectly as well. So there's a lot of flexibility within the chairs that we offer and the things that we do. And one other nice little feature that we did when we're engineering this chair is we actually just integrated a magnet onto it. So that, again, we work hard to get that posture. With a lot of rise recliner chairs, there's a loop. And what tended to happen is that people would try and find that loop on the chair. They would struggle, and then they'd do this sort of motion to try and get it. And once they've got it, and then they end up staying kind of leaned over. With a nice magnetic stick on both sides, it just ensures that person's maintaining that posture again, still supported. They can get it if they need to, and they can stand if they need to. I think that is pretty much it when it comes to this one. We tend to find it works very well for a number of different people. It works for the individuals that just need a bit of support, in terms of standing and getting up. But it does also help on, a bit more substantial conditions such as Parkinson's, possibly even multiple sclerosis to a point as well. But yeah, ultimately, when we're designing our chairs, when we're looking at posture, we start with that pelvis. We want that good line, and then everything we do afterwards is there to maintain a good level of support for that individual. So that covers me. I want to just appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you do have any questions, obviously do shout up.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Ben. And thank you, everybody, for keeping in touch on the chat. Sorry, we are just 4 minutes over time so far. And I do appreciate that a lot of you are very busy healthcare professionals. So again, if you have to get off, that's fine. I will remind you that the recording will be sent round. So we will have a Q&A session now and just a couple of slides to round off. So anyone who is able to stay with us, that'd be really good. So a couple of questions, Ben and Rachel, which I will read out to you now. So first we've had from Karen Hull for you, Rachel. Can I ask, do care home staff ever suggest more supportive sitting, or is it normally family members? In your experience, are care home staff becoming aware of the importance of good sitting posture to maintain body shape?
It depends. It's always going to be, and it depends. It depends how good your care home is. if I'm absolutely honest. You generally find the lower level seating, they tend to be okay with. It's once they start to decline, and then they still carry on putting them in something that's not appropriate. It's been really varied for me. I've kind of worked right up to the north and then sort of down to the Midlands. I couldn't say I've had some really good ones that are really aware, and then I've had some others that just absolutely clueless. So it depends on your sport team.
Yeah,
That's a bit of a cop-out answer, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Yeah, thank you. And then we've had another one, and then which I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer. Are our chairs able to have possum adaptive technology connected for head or blow operation? That's from Carl Harrison.
Yes, is the short answer. We would have to, you probably need to get some specifications and bits and pieces to us, but yes, we've done that in the past, and mainly for things like motor neuron disease in our care chair sort of range. But yes, we can adapt with other things such as possum.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And those are the only two we've had so far, which usually means that between the two of you, you've covered all the information very well. But I'll just let anyone put any more questions on the chat. And again, if you think of anything after the event, please do be free to get in touch, to phone us or to email us, and we'll give some contact details at the end of when we send around the email. With the recording, you can reply to that with any further questions you think of, and we will get in touch. And thank you to everyone for your comments in the chat saying it's informative. That's good. Glad it's helping you. Okay, so I'll round off. I'm conscious we're a little bit out over time, so I will quickly share my screen again. If it lets me. So just checking everyone can see that okay. Except we've gone back to the beginning now. So in terms of our free resources, I just wanted to highlight to everyone that these are available on our website. As mentioned before, we're dedicated to providing educational content and knowledge in any way we can that's helpful and useful to healthcare professionals. And we've built up a large bank of resources on the website. So these are available on the Our Resources section and include all sorts of things that you can use, from ebooks to justification forms and templates you can use if you're trying to get funding approval. And then also many more helpful training videos and recordings of previous webinars. So please do go and have a look. We've got a blog as well, lots of articles on there. And then for seating assessments specifically, one of the things which you might find helpful is our seating assessment form. So basically, this can be either filled out digitally on your phone, or otherwise it can be printed out and brought with you to your clients. And you can obviously make notes there on the right-hand side, but then it also just helps you to use it as a bit of a checklist to go through and make sure that you have considered everything when you're looking at an individual's needs. So this is also available on our website. Alternatively, we do have our team of in-house seating assessors, such as Ben, who can actually join you for seating assessments upon request, and support you with finding the right chair. So again, you can contact us using the contact information I'll provide at the end. Otherwise, there is a webpage on our website, which is just vivid.care/assessment, and you can book an assessment there. As mentioned, this is part of a series of webinars. So today was episode 1 about seating assessments for elderly people, and the next one is open for registration now. That's going to be held at the end of March, and that's going to be about mastering seating assessments for children and paediatric patients. So if that's of interest or relevant to you, please do go on and register for that. We'll be glad to see you again. Other than that, thank you very, very much for joining all. here is our contact information here, our phone number and email address, which is available on our website, which is vivid.care. We'd be very glad to help with you. We've got a very experienced team who are willing and ready to answer all your questions and come and join you for demonstrations, trials and assessments if needed. So, thank you again for joining and have a brilliant rest of your afternoon. And thank you, Rachel and Ben, for your presentations. They were very, very educational. Thank you all.
Thank you.